Our football. When former NFL coach Kay Stevenson gives his expert advice, we are football. With Golick and Wingo in the morning and Paul Feinbaum in the afternoon. College alumni shows at 1 from Alabama to Florida. The Sports Drive at 5 with legendary SEC interviews like Gene Stallings and Pat Dye. We are football. The weekends are made for football in the South, so wake up Saturday mornings with College Game Day, the Sports Call, and the biggest NCAA games of the week. On Sunday, sit down with Pensacola's best of the NFL like Fred Robbins and fantasy football inside from the Fantasy Sleepers, followed by the best NFL football games from coast to coast. So in all, we're not just football, we are local football. ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Now that Human Resources Director Fernando Pino has Kronos for HR, payroll, talent, and time, he's completely crushing it. He even has his own hype song.
Supporting our entire workforce. Everyone has different hours, skill sets, and pay grades. Motivating and engaging our people every step of the way.
Kronos, HR solutions for the modern workforce and the people who support them. Learn more at kronos.com/HR swagger.
I'm on the top, I'm gonna rise up. I'm on the top, I'm gonna rise up. I'm on the top.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there.
We are broadcasters, your home for Pensacola sports. ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Stress, health issues, and age all have an effect on men, especially in the bedroom, and current treatments like pills that have side effects or the thought of expensive surgery are out of the question. Living Waters Regenerative Medical Center has a solution to get to the root of the problem. Dr. Viglione uses Gainswave, a sonic, non-invasive, drug-free solution for men suffering from ED. Get a free consultation about a non-surgical, non-prescription solution to your bedroom problem. Living Waters Regenerative Medical Center, ViglioneMD.com.
What up? It's your boy Roy Jones Jr. and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
Hey, Chad here for the Sports Drive. Catch us 5 to 7 Monday through Friday for the latest in local, collegiate, and national news. Right here on Pensacola's sports leader, ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
Chad was great.
This is former Tampa Bay Buccaneer and Washington High School alum Derek Brooke. You're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach Kay Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach Kay starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
And welcome into the program on a Tuesday. Joe Ford with the legendary Coach K, getting you up to speed on all the news and notes in the world of professional and amateur football. And really good show today. We've got Indianapolis. I almost called him Baltimore Colts. Yeah, Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich will be joining the program about 15 minutes from now. Very much looking forward to what he has to say. Coach, I'm looking forward to not only what he has to say, but how the Indianapolis Colts shape up. We talked about them a little bit today. They have a lot of their guys back, which in today's NFL is not unusual, but I guess it's interesting. It's special when you can go into a new season and seasons beyond that with a lot of continuity, which the Colts are trying to build. Obviously, a lot of teams are looking at the Patriots, what they've been able to do as far as the continuity is concerned, and the Colts are trying to build that, and they have a lot of pieces already in place. They've added through the draft the last couple of years, and I'm really interested to hear what Coach Reich has to say about the guys that he has coming back, and maybe how this training camp is different from a year ago when he was just starting out.
Well, I think the Colts are extremely interesting because, one, they've got to be right in the top echelon right now of NFL teams. And you have an outstanding, the way I always judge teams, first to start with the coaching staff, because if you don't have a well-organized coaching staff, people that can not only handle the X's and O's, but schematically plan for games, and then have an organization that goes on, that last is not broken every week. Peaks and valley type football team. Look at Belichick. Okay, so the Colts have a good coaching staff. Great guy. Guy I drafted at Buffalo, Frank Reich. He's just an excellent human being, very intelligent. A lot of football savvy about him, and makes a very good coach. Then they have a winning quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks. He's still a young guy, and I rate him in the top 5 easily, the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And so they have that. They have both lines. Their offensive line is exceptional to me, and it's through the draft. They've drafted there, and they've drafted outstanding football players. So they're strong up front. They have a good, a decent running game. They expect it to be better, I'm sure, this year. We'll hear what Frank has to say about their running game. They have a defense that is exciting. And I think, Joe, it's exciting to the extent that, one, they're extremely fast. They can play with anybody, speed defensively, which is something very special. They play downhill most of the time, and they come after you. Now, we know that about the Colts. The other thing, keep in mind that Ballard, the general manager there, has done a very good job controlling that salary cap. They're well below the cap. So they're going to be able to control the youth on that football team for quite a while. They've got a great future to look forward to, and I think they're one of the most exciting teams in the league. And there was some talk with the cap room that they have that the Colts might be in play for some of those big name free agents like a Le'Veon Bell. Ultimately ended up, I think, being smart with the cap that they do have, but obviously it's still there. In the event that future comes around, that you have that championship window, which the Colts are very much in right now. As long as Andrew Luck is upright, as long as he's healthy, they're going to be in that championship conversation, and they've positioned themselves very well. It's just such a unique opportunity that Coach Reich has to build a program, build his system, and for the long haul, because there's so many young guys, so many guys on these rookie type deals where you're several years away from having to talk about extending guys and paying them their market value. So the championship window is definitely open. One thing that I'm sure Coach Reich will talk about is how he goes about replacing a guy in Dante Moncrief who they had last year kind of on the opposite side of T.Y. Hilton. Now all of a sudden you've got a guy in Paris Campbell from Ohio State who you talk about speed. What's the one thing you can't coach? It's speed. And now all of a sudden you've got Andrew Luck with a really good tight end in Eric Ebron. You've got T.Y. Hilton on one side, and obviously has to wait and see how Paris Campbell translates to the pro game, but they picked him for a reason. I tell you, I think it was a great pick. I liked him very, very much. I liked him coming out of the combine. He not only has speed, but he has skill. And I think he's going to be an outstanding addition.
So in about 8 minutes from now, we'll have that conversation, Coach K and head coach Frank Reich of the Indianapolis Colts. Just some few news and notes around the NFL and college football. The New York Giants, they drafted Daniel Jones with I think it was the 6th overall pick in the 2019 draft. He's now under contract. Coach, the Giants are saying that there's no quarterback competition, that they're going to start the season with Eli Manning. I kind of see this as a situation where certainly a great quarterback to learn from. I think the Giants would prefer that they don't have to play Daniel Jones at all this year, but you draft a guy 6th overall, it's likely he's going to be thrown into the fire at some point this year, right?
No, not necessarily. Just like Mahomes, a great example. Sit there for a year behind Smith and learn the game, and it benefited him extremely well. Rodgers sat there 4 years behind Brett Favre and learned a heck of a lot about the game. So when he got his chance to play, he was well ahead of the curve. And he didn't go through the pains and the agony of being a young guy thrown out there to the wolves. So it doesn't necessarily equate to that. I think they've got a good situation there. I think that Eli's probably going to play better this year, and that'll give them a chance to just play him along as they want to. If they want to play him some, fine. Get his feet wet. But for the most part, keep him out and let him learn. That would be my. Now, if they don't get off to a good start, and if things start going downhill, there's going to be an outcry for him to get in a ball game. And then you'll see that happen. That's an unfortunate situation, and it usually means that he's gonna get some bad licks out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the way I see it.
And talk as a head coach. Talk about the balance that you have to go through when you have a quarterback situation like that, because we have seen examples of quarterbacks that come in. And I think David Carr is probably one of the more prominent examples of a quarterback who was taken really high, who was thrown into the mix right away, and the game kind of beat him up enough to kind of take him out of the league. We've also seen instances like in Indianapolis with Andrew Luck, Baker Mayfield. Even though he did sit for a little bit, he thrived when he was put in this situation. So as a head coach, when you are looking at a quarterback situation where you have a veteran, but you also have a guy that you drafted really high, the balance that the head coach, the offensive coaching staff, their thought process in making that decision.
Well, it's a great question, and I think the best answer is it really can't depend on where you drafted a guy, okay? It's got to depend on, as coaches, you have enough knowledge of the game and a feel for the game that when you've got to make a move on the quarterback. Your guy, let's say, is over the hill, he can't play anymore, and you're just absolutely losing because he's out there. Now you got to take that young guy, really, really pay attention to him and try to get him to accept the fact that you're going to throw him to the wolves. But hopefully he gets out and performs well, goes out there and performs well. And that's a situation by need. You absolutely have to make a change there. You'd be fired if you didn't. So I think that's the most obvious. And the other is you just feel like he's coming along, and you can't hold him back anymore. You got to put him out on the field and let him play. And you want to see, you know that next year and the year after are going to depend on his development. So you go ahead and put him out there into the season and let him get his feet wet, get used to playing, and get some experience. So those are the two most obvious situations.
Another news tidbit from out west and a former Alabama Crimson Tide defensive tackle, Jerron Reed, playing for the Seattle Seahawks. He will be suspended for the first 6 games of this coming season for a violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy. This coming from a domestic violence case in 2017. Now, interesting enough, Reed was neither arrested nor charged in the incident. Of course, there's been a lot of discussion, as there always is around a situation like this, about the NFL's personal conduct policy. We just saw an instance with Tyreek Hill where the NFL ruled that he was not going to be suspended. You have on audio tape Hill making a verbal threat towards the mother of his child. No suspension for that. And then now we have, I think, a bit of, at least it appears to be, an inconsistency in how Commissioner Roger Goodell is coming down with these rulings. But of course, the NFL players, that's something that they gave the commissioner in the last collective bargaining agreement. And I think this is going to be one of, if not the major sticking point when it comes time for the next CBA negotiations.
Well, I would agree with you there, and I certainly think that they need some more continuity in the way things are, the discipline is handled there. The fact is, there has been some discrepancy here with the penalties on certain people. Now, the audio tape with Tyreek Hill is terrible. There's no doubt about it. From a law enforcement standpoint, there's not one thing you can do to somebody for, sticks and stones could break my bones, words could never hurt me. So you can't say anything to somebody for getting irate, making some idle threat. Now, if they come close, or if you get a restraining order, some judge gives you a restraining order, and they violate that, then certainly words can get you in hot water there. I'm not trying to play lawyer here. I'm just trying to say there is a discrepancy on how you handle that. I know from a legal standpoint, it's going to be very difficult to say anything. Now, does the NFL take precedence over someone being in legal trouble? The police say no, there's no problem here. He goes on with his life. Now, does the NFL step in and say, that we've got to stay consistent? There's got to be some type of suspension here. I think all of us would like to see him have to at least acknowledge to some extent and serve some type punishment. That was a pretty harsh way to leave that situation, was the threat, and it is no question it's a threat to his fiance.
Another note here: the legendary quarterback, for perhaps not the best of reasons, Mark Sanchez. Of course, he'll always be known for the so-called butt fumble against the Patriots. He announced his retirement from the game today, and he's going to be moving in the booth. Of course, North Carolina's new head coach, Mack Brown, created a vacancy at ABC ESPN, and so Mark Sanchez will be filling the void. So he'll be coming up on future college football broadcast. And speaking of college football broadcast, Coach, for the first time since 2010, Alabama and LSU will not be in prime time. For the first time since 2010.
Interesting, yeah.
And so CBS has made the decision that on September 21st, the CBS, the primetime crew of Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson, they get the one primetime game a year. For the past 8 years, it's been that Alabama-LSU game. This year, on September 21st, it is going to be the much-anticipated game, Notre Dame against Georgia.
Yeah, I'm not totally surprised at that because of the national appeal of Notre Dame, and this is a huge game to say the least. I think Notre Dame got a chance to be a better football team this year, just from the standpoint of having as many return as they do and having that quarterback come back who's now got some experience.
And I think one of the lasting images of last year was the Georgia football fans who, they don't really get a chance to travel too far away from home. They like to, Georgia tends to stay around the South. I remember back in the days of Matthew Stafford and A.J. Green, they went out to Arizona State, but Georgia fans showed up in South Bend last year, and it was such an interesting weekend because I believe that it was just the perfect storm of sporting events that weekend in the Chicago, northern Indiana area, because I believe the same weekend the Braves were playing the Cubs, and if I'm not mistaken, the Falcons were also playing the Bears. So you had 3 sporting events that brought the contingent of Georgia fans up there, and it made for quite the spectacle, as there was a ton of red in South Bend last year.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Georgia fans usually travel well. I know they played out on the West Coast and had quite a few people out there in the playoff game going out to the West Coast. So Georgia fans travel well. They do always have. And a very loyal fan base.
And one of the premier games of the college football schedule, again, Notre Dame at Georgia will be on CBS, the primetime game, kicking LSU and Alabama to the afternoon time slot. We'll take a quick timeout, and coming back, Coach had a chance to catch up with Indianapolis Colts head coach Frank Reich. We'll play that interview for you next. It's Talk Football with Coach K on a Tuesday. If you want to weigh in, the number is 972-1945. We'll be back in a moment.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
At Indeed, we believe a resume is a great way to see an overview of a candidate, but you're not hiring a resume, you're hiring a person. That's why Indeed offers tools that help bridge the gap between a candidate and the resume, like skill tests, which let you actually see a candidate's abilities in action to make sure they're a good fit for the job. See beyond the resume with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Johnny got a toy golf set when he was 3, and from that day on, he was hooked. All he wanted to do was golf, golf, golf. He'd be on the links before school, after school. All he ever wanted was to go pro. And then, one day, when he was holding his grandson and thinking about his 12 handicap, Johnny realized it just might not happen for him. But you know what did happen for him? He switched to Geico and saved a bunch of money on car insurance. So that was good, and so was hanging out with his grandson.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Talk football with Coach K. Happy Tuesday. Joe Ford and Coach K in with you and bringing you up to speed on all the news and notes for today. If you're just joining us, CBS making the announcement that it will not be LSU and Alabama in their primetime game. They get one a year. It'll be the first time since 2010 that it is not the featured matchup in CBS primetime, instead going with Georgia and Notre Dame. We spent the first segment talking a lot about the Indianapolis Colts, and Coach had a chance to catch up with head coach Frank Reich. Coach, you drafted Frank Reich out of the University of Maryland, had a chance to catch up with him today, and we'll see what Coach Reich has to say about the upcoming season.
Listen, congratulations again. What a great year you had last year. What a great job you guys did. It was
thank you.
Fantastic. I thought you did an outstanding job, especially coming back with the rough start that you had and making it happen. Frank, that's really, really a tribute to you and your staff and those players up there. What do
no doubt. We got the right kind of players, that's for sure.
Yeah, I should think so. You certainly have a quarterback. I think he's one of the top. He's in the top 3 or 4. There's no doubt about that in the league. And, he's outstanding. Let me ask you a couple of questions, Coach. Now, looking at your draft, I thought you had. For not having a first-round pick, I thought you had an excellent draft. Of course, you've had a chance to look at them now, so I can ask you a little bit about them. But I thought especially your Paris Campbell, the receiver from Ohio State, to be able to take the top off virtually any defense in the league.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we really were excited about being able to get Paris. He was a guy that we had targeted, a guy that we thought had the right kind of character, to fit our program, our locker room, the right kind of makeup as far as just personal character and football character. And then, like you said, Coach, just had a unique skill set with that speed, that low 4.3 speed that he has to take the top off. And not just take the top off. I mean, we really like to use guys with his ability because he's got good running ability as well to be able to use him on some crossing routes and some screens and use that speed and running ability that he has in those ways as well. And then on top of that, we really felt like Paris, even though the role that he played at Ohio State was kind of a hybrid role, a hybrid slot receiver kind of role, he did some gadgets and a lot of that slot receiver stuff, but we really felt Paris had a skill set that could be used to develop as a legit, NFL wide receiver. He's not just a gadget guy, not just a hybrid guy. We think Paris has the skill set to be a legit NFL receiver playing inside or outside.
You just answered my next question. Does he really have the receiver skills that and I know? You just about have to have. Speed's great.
Obviously he's going to have to prove. Obviously he's going to have to prove that. But what we saw on tape, we were looking for key things on tape that we saw that demonstrated those abilities. Then at his workout, we saw that. Certainly at his combine, we felt like everybody in the world saw that he had a great combine workout. His route running was really good, and the way he caught the ball, he showed all those traits. So we're really excited.
Yeah, I certainly jocked him up on a list that I had, and it looked to me that he had the receiver skills, meaning body control, eye-hand coordination, the ability to judge the football coming down, where it's coming down, speed, and all that.
Yes,
all those things that you have to look for with the receiver. Interesting that you said he could fit a number of different roles, and gosh, with that type of ability, you're right. Just get him the football, and if he has the run skills, also, he's going to be tough to handle.
Yeah, we're excited, and then on top of that, he's a great teammate. I mean, he's got the confidence that you need as a player in this league, but he's also got the humility, to be a good teammate and to be in that mindset that he can always keep getting better.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. How do you feel your rushing and your run game is coming along, or will develop this year? I know you were probably not exactly where you wanted to be. You certainly did enough to keep him honest, but you probably want a little bit more production there. But how do you feel it's coming?
Yeah, we got a really slow start there, and I feel like we learned a lot. You know, we have the right players. You know, our offensive line is, we think, you know, central and core and a big strength on our team. So that's why we drafted Quentin Nelson with the 6th pick of the draft. You know, drafted Braden Smith real early. You know, we got a first-round draft pick playing center, Ryan Kelly, and a first-round draft pick playing left tackle, and Anthony Costanzo. And then, you know, Mark Kalinsky at right guard is a really explosive run blocker. So we're expecting big things in the run game. Last year, in the first 6 games, I think we were ranked 30th in the league in rushing out of 32 teams, obviously. But if you look at the 10-game span at the end of the year, where we got on our run and won 9 out of 10, we were ranked, I think, 7th for those 10 weeks. So we want to build off of what we did the last 10 games of the year. We saw how it firsthand correlated to us winning football games. So we're pretty determined that we have to run the football, and we want to start the year that way.
Oh, absolutely. Let me tell you something that's interesting. I know you don't really need my opinion on anybody that you have, but I'm looking at your offensive front, and normally I'm very, very familiar with the maturation process up there. Usually it takes at least three, more like 4 or 5 years to get the offensive lineman at his peak maturity, at his peak proficiency up there. Your kid Nelson, I watched him and even had a chance to look at some additional tape on him. And I'll tell you what, I probably shouldn't say this. It's an overreach, but he may be one of the top 2 or 3 offensive linemen in the National Football League as a rookie. I mean, I've never seen a rookie do what this kid did.
Yeah, he's a unique player. I mean, and you know, it's not really a surprise, I don't think, to anybody. I mean, certainly the level, and like you said, there's what he established this year on the field was pretty impressive. But it's really, he did that at Notre Dame. He was really well coached at Notre Dame. So he was brought up right. This guy's got he's got a winning mindset. He's very competitive, tremendous work ethic, a great team player, and he not only pushes himself, he's pushing everybody in the room to get better. He's not going to accept anything less than the best effort from himself and from his teammates. So that just pours out of him. I mean, he doesn't have to force that. It just kind of drips off of him. And we all see that, and it made a big impact in our locker room and on the field.
No, you don't get that. Could you quickly go through a couple of other of your draft picks and how they're panning out, how you feel they're coming along, if you're going to have some starters out of there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, you know, so we did have a late first-round pick that we traded back. And so to get that, you know, we traded back, and so we ended up with several second-round picks. So we took Rock Ya-Sin from Temple. He's just a really strong, tough, competitive corner who's got the length and toughness and the quickness, the ball skills, you know, that we like in a corner. He's our kind of guy. He's a team player. He's tough as nails. And this guy's a cornerback. You know, normally you're not saying those things about a cornerback, but that's true about Rock. So very excited about him. You know, we took Ben Banigou, you know, defensive end. So we really think this guy can rush the passer and can develop in that area. Bobby Okereke, linebacker from Stanford, really very impressive guy. He's long. You look at all, you know, Darius Leonard, right? He took the NFL by storm last year with what he accomplished on defense. And he's got this length and speed and quickness and instincts. And we think Bobby Okereke has some of those same traits. And then we drafted another linebacker later, E.J. Speed, who is also real long. You know, he's 6'3" and just long arms, fast, really fast. So our linebacker, core, that's kind of the MO of what we're looking for. We drafted Kari Willis, strong safety. We really like, here's a guy who we think can really contribute early. Really a good cover guy for a strong safety, but also really good toughness, very good tackler. So we're excited about him. Marvell Tell, played safety, but can also play corner. We're excited with where he's at. So Jackson Barton, we drafted him late, offensive lineman. He's showing some promise. And, Javon Patterson, another offensive lineman, unfortunately had an ACL injury, so he'll be out for the year. But, we feel good about our draft picks. We, might be missing one guy, but Jerry Green just came to mind, defensive end from Mississippi. Some good skill set of running the passer, and think he can develop some as well.
Yeah, you certainly had. I think you had an outstanding draft. I really do. Let me ask you a couple of other questions. On this is your second year now going into camp. Little different, I'm sure, from your first year in the way of familiarity, if nothing else. But as far as handling camp, are there any things that are different this year that you didn't have to contend with last year, or vice versa?
I think last year coming into training camp, there were zero expectations on this team. And, everyone was thinking it was a rebuilding year. And so what we ended up doing was really exceeded expectations, where this year coming into training camp, the expectations are real high. So really coming in, we're just trying to not let that be a distraction.
Right.
That's not what we're thinking about. Looking at what we're thinking about is how do we get better. So as a coaching staff, it's all about how can we get better as a coaching staff, installing our schemes, special teams, defense, offense. How can we get the players ready better? How can we be smart in practice? How can we minimize injuries in practice and soft tissue injuries? Practice smarter. It's training camp, so you want to go hard and do all that stuff, but at the same time, you got to be smart. So every year you're looking at how can we tweak the schedule to still get all the work that we need to get done, but at the same time, be smart and take care of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Key question here. What do you see, you being more involved with offense, obviously, for quite a while in the NFL, what do you see changing offensively in the league, Frank? I understand there's more of the run-pass option, but what overall do you see changing, if anything?
Well, I do think some of the college game is coming in, some of that RPO stuff, and you just see, offenses trying to be creative. But when I say creative, it's not doing crazy things. Creative doesn't mean crazy in my mind. Creative just means using your personnel, using formations in a creative way, using your personnel in a creative way to try to create matchups and leverage for your players to succeed. And so, we put a lot of time and effort into that. Some of the schemes, some of the RPO schemes that come into play from the college game, I think have been good. We're not ready as an offense to, we're not trying to play college ball. We got an elite quarterback who can throw the ball all over the place, but there's still a couple things that we can pick up on. And I think, you've got to keep an open mindset. You got to keep a growth mindset. And how can we use a couple of these little things from the college game to put our players in a good position?
Gosh, I couldn't agree with your answer more. Honest to goodness, an interesting thing was the Super Bowl last year. New England against the Rams, against those fast, undersized linebackers, they lined up an old 1960s offense. A big fullback, tight end, two receivers, two backs, quarterback, and they went at them with whams, leads, traps. they went every way you could go after him, forced him into that 8-man front. And I'm sure, in hearing Luck talk the other day on an interview, he understands the value of the running game, where you can force them to get closer to an 8-man front and give you a chance to throw with a 1 high, as opposed to always trying to throw against a 2 high. And but anyway, they just went back to that 1960s football and just whipped them every way you can whip them.
Yeah, well, you saw that, and I think the whole key in all that is, you got to be committed to what you do, and that was kind of New England's MO. They've done a lot of that all year, and found ways to make it work, and so that's what we try to do as well. I mean, our personnel is built around a certain offensive scheme, defensive scheme, different than New England, different than the Rams. We're trying to identify and sign players that fit the schemes that we run, and then stay true to those things that we think work best for those kind of players.
Right. I got two other questions, Frank, and I apologize for holding you up here. One, how would you describe your defense overall? If you as an offensive coach going in to play against the Indianapolis Colts defense, how would you describe the defense you're going to face?
I mean, we're run and hit. We're aggressive. We're probably smaller in some ways and longer and faster than most defenses. And, we want to lead the league in hustle. Everybody talks about that, but we really hold our players accountable to that, to that philosophy. And then, we're going to keep it simple on defense and turn the players loose, let them use their speed and athleticism and aggressiveness to their advantage. We don't want them thinking too much. We're going to do just enough to be able to keep offenses guessing a little bit, but other than that, we want to keep it simple and turn them loose and let them play with speed and aggressiveness.
Yeah, well, again, I couldn't agree with you more. If you can get those types of players, and coach them well, you got to coach them well if you're going to play that style, and you're doing that. So that certainly sounds
a lot
like
of it comes back down to when we do that. We really believe that by keeping the scheme simple, that the basic fundamentals and technique of playing with leverage and proper footwork and pad placement, where your eyes need to be, that we can teach those things and drill those things over and over again. And when you keep it simple, what it comes down to is these one-on-one matchups. And what's going to win those one-on-one matchups is the right fundamentals and technique. Yeah. So if you get them thinking too much, you can disrupt that. And so that's really what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Your division, it's a tough division, but, you got a couple of teams that could, to me, it's a very interesting division in that you got the team to beat are obviously the Indianapolis Colts. So you guys, no question about that. But what if Jacksonville can get their defense back together and Foles can, give them some stability there offensively, and then you've got with Houston awfully talented, and of course the same with the Titans. How do you feel overall about your division?
Yeah, we got a strong division, and we like it like that. I mean, I think there's something to that. You play those division opponents twice when you play in a tough division. They kind of get you ready for if you can succeed and do well and win your division, and it's a tough division, it toughens you up for playoff football, which is really what you want to get ready for. So, like you said, Jacksonville, we know is very good defensively. Last year they embarrassed us. We beat them the first game here in Lucas Oil, and then they embarrassed us down there. They shut us out, and that's not good. So. And now they got Nick Foles playing quarterback. Obviously, I know Nick very well, and I couldn't respect the guy any more than I respect Nick Foles. He's a class act, and he's a great player. So they're going to be good. Houston, this is why our division is good. Every team in our division has a good defense and good quarterback play. Houston has, one of the better defenses in the league as well. And then Deshaun Watson, I just think is a big time playmaking quarterback. He's got some real weapons at his disposal. That's a dangerous team. So and then you go to Tennessee, and same thing. Mike Vrabel's doing a great job there with that team. He's got them playing tough, and defensively they're very stout. And they're a force on defense, and then offensively, I think Marcus Mariota, and when he's healthy, he's also a top level player. So we'll have our work cut out for us in our division, but we're excited about the prospects.
Well, I know you are, and you certainly should be. Just one quickie: is New England? Would you consider them to still be the best in the AFL?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're the world champions. So until someone dethrones them, that's the mindset that you have. They've deserved that.
Well,
they obviously are the class of the AFC and of the league in many respects for a lot of years. So I give them their credit.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. Listen, I've held you a long time. Again, I appreciate very much you taking the time to be with us, and I wish you all the best. I'm pulling for you, every game. So.
I appreciate it, Coach. Always great talking with you.
Same here. Thanks so much, Frank.
Well, there you have it, Coach Frank Reich of the Indianapolis Colts. And, Coach, a lot to digest there, but he agreed with you talking about Paris Campbell and how it's going to be a process in adapting to the pro game, because Paris did have a different role at Ohio State where he did a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motions, a lot of things that the slot receiver normally does. And it will be interesting to see how they incorporate him into that offense. But the wide receiver spot opposite of T.Y. Hilton is wide open. He talked about the offensive line, and something that you alluded to as we were listening to that is the amount of depth that this Colts team is going to have. And, if players aren't careful, when it comes time to getting to the 53-man roster, some of the guys that were really big contributors last year could be on the outside looking in.
Well, there's no question about that. And if you listen closely to Frank going down through the draftees this year, I mean, he's talking very favorably about maybe 4 or 5 of these kids being starters or playing an awful lot of time. So, and others that he feels are going to contribute. So you're gonna have quite a bit of influx into your football team from this draft class, and going to make them that much better.
We'll go ahead and take a timeout. Coming back, NFL coaches and executives were polled and trying to come up with a list of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. What did they get right? What did they get wrong? We'll discuss next. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN 94.5. We'll be back in a moment.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
When the sand gets hot, you gotta move fast, like a dog chasing a Frisbee.
move just as fast to the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Because for the first time ever, you can get 20% estimated savings on select Ford vehicles, plus earn complimentary maintenance through Ford Pass Rewards. Don't let this hot deal on America's best-selling brand pass you by. Get into the Ford Hurry Up and Save sales event. Based on 2010 through 2018 calendar year sales. Modem must be activated within 60 days of purchase through the Ford Pass app on a smartphone and remain active for at least 6 months after activation. Eligible on select 2019 model year vehicles. Vehicle must have arrived at dealer at least 61 days prior to the sale date. Estimated savings include an average dealer discount based on a sales survey of average discounts offered by Ford dealers nationally. Discount may vary. Dealer determines price. For all offers, take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stocked by 9/3/19. See participating dealer for complete details.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
ESPN 94.5 Talk Football with Coach K, Joe Ford, and the coach with you on a Tuesday. And we just heard from Indianapolis head coach Frank Reich, and he had a lot to say there. And I hope you had a chance to listen. If not, you can watch it on our Facebook page. Give us a like on there, and you can make comments. You can also call or text us anytime, 972-1945. No question about it. Coach Reich has himself a quarterback that he can win a Super Bowl with. And Coach released today on The Athletic, they did a poll of 55 NFL coaches and executives, putting together a list of the top quarterbacks. And this is something that we do every year. Different publications put out their list. Well, The Athletic went right to the people that, study the tape, that know a lot more than just your writers or your fans do. And it's kind of interesting to see the list that they put together. They broke them down into tiers, and we're not going to go through all 32 quarterbacks, but if you look at the top 10, you'll probably get maybe not a consensus, but generally speaking, it's the names that we're all familiar with. But they had in number 10 from the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that he's all the way down to 10, but sounds about right at this point. He's a very talented guy, and I'll tell you what has performed well, other than the injury. That's the only setback that he's had. Other than that, he's been a performer, and I expect that he will continue to be that. Plus, he's a good citizen. He's got all the intangibles that you're looking for in a quarterback. I've said many times, the intangibles in some cases outweigh the measurables with the quarterback position.
You had number 9 from the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan. Ryan's a guy who he's been there, he's done that. He's been in the league now for, about 11 years or so, if not longer than that. But he's a guy that the Falcons are, a quarter away from a Super Bowl title. Don't know if he is a guy that can get over that final hump. That seems to be his issue, as the Falcons have had a couple of down years, but the offense, barring injury, should be firing on all cylinders, and a lot of it is because of what this guy does.
Yeah, I like Matt Ryan. In fact, I think he should be. There's another poll out, which maybe we'll talk about tomorrow, which is just rating on a different basis, the top 10, and I think he should be higher up in there. I like him. He's been ultra productive, and now keep in mind he had the Super Bowl. It was not his fault that they lost that Super Bowl when he had them up by 20, 25 points, I think, and then they ended up losing it. But anyway, we won't get into that now. But I like him. I think he should be higher.
The Seattle Seahawks have themselves a franchise quarterback and a guy who they just spent a lot of money to making happy. Russell Wilson checking in at number 8 according to the NFL coaches and executives that were polled. Again, you could find this article on The Athletic. But Russell Wilson, a guy that you talk about, somebody who with supporting cast has never had that good of a supporting cast, quite frankly. They had Doug Baldwin, Marshawn Lynch earlier in his career, but since then it's really been the Russell Wilson show out there.
I think you're right, and you gotta look at him as being really the put you on my back, let's go type quarterback, because he's very gifted as an athlete. He can keep a play alive as well or better than anybody in the league. He's got a good arm. He can throw the football down the field. He can make you defend 53.5 yards in width and 60 yards in depth. So he's got all that. Plus, I think he's intuitive as a football player. I really do. I like him, and I think you're right. I think they could have had more help for him in the way of talent and personnel on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't had it. So, I like Russell Wilson.
This is going to sound kind of weird for a guy who's been in the league for 15 years, but I think we're going to find out a lot about Ben Roethlisberger this year. He checks in at number 7, but he has had the Antonio Browns. He's had Juju Smith-Schuster last year. He's had Le'Veon Bell for the past few years. Now you take 2 of those 3 guys away, and it seems like a transition time for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, it could well be. I got to give him credit. You know, he's been a productive quarterback. You can't take that away from him, what he's done. But I don't particularly care for his demeanor, his approach to the game. There's some other things that I think could be handled better. When I hear about him out playing golf when other practicing on certain days, those are the total lack of leadership and things that turn me off totally as a coach. So I've got to be honest. I got to say what I think. I would not put him up there because as I look at these quarterbacks, I say, who would I like to have on my football team? I would pass on him and go to somebody else. Okay.
Well, what about the next guy on the list? This is, again, a list of polls from NFL coaches and executives, now into the Tier 1 guys. So they have 6 guys in their Tier 1, guys that teams win because of them and just consistent. They always perform well. They have Phillip Rivers in the top tier, guy who doesn't have a Super Bowl, doesn't have a championship. He's gotten close a couple of times, but again, it's a team sport, obviously.
Yeah, and he's been an ultra-productive quarterback. And boy, you talk about a guy that's played handicapped for a large portion of his career. It's been Phillip Rivers. Outstanding quarterback. Would you like to have him on your football team? Yeah, you bet.
Well, I think I already know the answer to this one. Would you like to have number 5 on the list? And on this list is Andrew Luck. Get the feeling you may have him a bit higher than 5.
I would. I certainly would have him higher than 5. I think he is a top 2 or 3, maybe at the most 4. But he's a top flight quarterback.
And then 1 through 4, you say, okay, so who are we kicking out of here? So we'll go now 1 through 4. And I know you disagree with this one. The Tier 1, number 1 quarterback, according to the NFL coaches and executives surveyed by The Athletic, from the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. There's some questions. I mean, nobody disputes his talent. No dispute there. The physical tools, the physical gifts he has, no question about it. If you listen to players that have played with him, there's questions about his leadership abilities. He can be kind of standoffish. The leadership really seems to be a question mark as compared to some of the other guys like the Rivers, the Breezes of the world.
Yeah, from a coaching standpoint, you hit it on the head. Nobody doubts his talent. He is an extremely talented quarterback. I've seen him play hurt at times as well, which is another real plus with this guy. Is he the number 1 guy that if I had a chance tomorrow to have a quarterback. Is he the guy that I would want? No, I wouldn't, because I think he thinks more of Rodgers than he does of his teammates and the Green Bay Packers. That's my opinion. I don't think he checks all of the intangible boxes. He checks every one of the physical measurable boxes. He checks those. Does he check all the intangibles? No, in my opinion.
And the list rounded off with Tom Brady, another Super Bowl ring to his name, followed by Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes, obviously the youngest guy on this list of top 10 quarterbacks.
But we just rushed over the top two, and of course Tom Brady, I think is the rightful number one quarterback on any list. I like Brees in there. I think they're both they check all the boxes. Brees doesn't check all the measurable boxes, but he checks all the other boxes on there for sure. Mahomes, it's too early to tell. He's played 1 year. I've never seen accolades and rewards thrown on a quarterback or any player after 1 year in the league and playing 1 year. Then I saw the results of this kid play. Now, I admire what he did, and I think he's a very talented kid, and he can do some things. But let me tell you, those things are not going to – he's not going to continue to throw the ball blind and those types of things. Those balls are going to end up in the other end zone pretty soon. I think we need to wait and see before we put Patrick Mahomes in the same class with a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees, an Aaron Rodgers, or Luck. He's not in that class, in my opinion. No.
Well, he's got a chance this year to really prove that that last year was not a fluke, and see if he can keep up the numbers and keep the productivity in Kansas City going. We'll take a quick timeout, come back for a brief final segment. This is Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN 94.5.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
ESPN 94.5, Talk Football with Coach K. Got about 30 seconds here before we're off the air, Coach, and we are now a month and a day away from the start of the college football season, and it's a game with big in-state goals, ambitions, what have you. You get a first chance to see the Florida Gators and the Miami Hurricanes in what should be a fantastic battle.
Yeah, it's a little early for football, but yeah, it should be, and I think the rivalry should exist. They should continue to play each other this year.
All right, Coach K, that will do it for today's show. We will see you tomorrow, ESPN 94.5.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 94.5. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
From coast to coast, The Stephen A. Smith Show.